Hey everybody, welcome to a review for our 35-week test. Just realized I didn't put a cool intro slide. Sorry you're missing out on the cool intro slide, guys. So anyway, let's talk about the test. So the test is this coming Tuesday. What's the makeup of the test? 50 regions, multiple choice questions. What's covered? Well, basically everything. Up through the Cold War and 1960s domestic policy. We went up through Lyndon Johnson. By the way, it's the same test that everyone's taking, that's taking U.S. history. So Mr. Castaldi's classes are taking the same test. So are Mr. Newman's. How is this test being counted for us on the fourth marking quarter? It's a double test grade. I believe it's the same for the other teachers, but I don't know. Alright, so I know that you guys were kind of going over the same exact PowerPoint in class, but I guess by watching this, you get the added benefit of me talking and explaining things just a little bit more. Alright, so I kind of broke things down a little bit into time periods, so if it's time period that you really remember, then you're like, hey, I don't have to study that as much. If it's a time period that you're like, huh? Then you can look at it a little bit. So guys, back in the day, back in the 1776 day, there were these fun and exciting old white guys. Well, actually, no, Thomas Jefferson was in his 30s. There were some fun and exciting white guys that wrote the Declaration of Independence. And yeah, Thomas Jefferson's the main writer guy. And so why in 1776 did these fun white dudes make this? Well, they made it basically to say, all right, guys, guys being King George III and Great Britain as a whole, hey, we're forming a new country. We're breaking away from you guys. It's America, so enjoy it, and here's the reasons why, and they listed all these different complaints, and they called them in their grievances, all these different things that they're saying, yeah, well, you know what, King George, you took away our freedom of speech, you know what else you did, you quartered soldiers in our homes, you know what else you did, your wig smelled like nasty wig, so basically all the reasons why they wanted their independence from Great Britain. Alright, so where did they get their ideas for the Declaration of Independence? Well, obviously the grievances are from what actually happened, like, the Peter Zenger trial of, and taking away freedom of speech. But a lot of it was based on ideas from the Enlightenment. You guys might or might not remember the Enlightenment from last year, where there, all these things saying, hey, power of the people. So some of the ideas that came from the Enlightenment that made their way into the Declaration of Independence were the idea of natural rights. And these are rights that everyone's born with. So you were born, you're a human, plop, you have these rights. And so originally when John Locke wrote them, he wrote them as life, liberty, and property. But Thomas Jefferson was like, property? That's great. So they changed it to the pursuit of happiness. Honestly, as long as you know natural rights are part of the idea of the Declaration of Independence, you're doing good. The right to rebel, the idea that, all right, the government's supposed to provide us these wonderful natural rights. If they don't give us those natural rights, then we have the right to rebel against that government. And if you can believe it, we actually did in this fun little thing called the Revolutionary War. P.S. We won. And also there's this idea of the social contract that, again, it goes with this, like, first you have the natural rights, that's the social contract, and if they don't take care of them, right to rebel. So when Thomas Jefferson's writing the Declaration of Independence, he's including all that fun and exciting stuff in there. Okay, so then the test kind of skips a little bit, and the next thing it sort of talks about is, again, spoiler alert, we won, yay! We have to set up a government. Yay, yay. And so they created the Articles of Confederation. So what is the Articles of Confederation? It's our very first government. Aww, for our baby country, baby government, yay. The problem is it was a pretty crummy government. Now, we can't yell at them, though, those fun founding father folk, for creating a crummy government, because you do things based on your experiences. And so they had the experiences from our good friend King George III and the Parliament and all these things, and thus they created a pretty weak national government. So part of the reason why they did that was they did not want to have the same thing happen again. It's like, and you'll never believe this, they studied history and then they wanted to, what? Learn from it. Crazy, I know. So yeah, so they're like, hey, there was too much power before given to a central authority. Let's not have a central authority. So under the Articles, there's no president. They're pretty upset because, things are just happening to them. Parliament is just, passing laws and putting requirements on them. They're not happy about it because they don't have representation. Now, guys, do we have taxation today? A heck of a lot more taxation, but the reason why we're not rebelling in the streets is because we have representation in our local city government, in our county government, in our state government, and in our national government. And so we elected those representatives, and so yeah, if they decide to tax us and we don't like it, then we don't elect them the next time. We didn't have that during colonial times. We're not happy about this whole quartering thing. Basically what they did was they said, troops are going to be living in your house, you're going to deal with that. And so imagine today, if the police were going to live in your house, how happy would you be? Not very. Unless your parent is a police officer, and then you'd be like, oh, parent, I love you. Also, they're not happy because of basically civil liberties not existing. That, people, if they express negative views against the British government, that they're being put in prison. Like I mentioned up above here, this whole idea of John Peter Zanger, who gets thrown in prison for publishing things against the king. They don't like that. They don't want that to happen anymore. Alright, so now we realize pretty soon off that the Articles of Confederation it didn't work. It was almost like an overreaction. It's sort of like, I don't know, if you say yeah, that's it, I'm gonna eat more healthy and I'm gonna lose weight, and you do it by not eating anything, and then you're starving and you're laying on the floor saying, feed me. That was kind of us in the 1780s. So we said, maybe we could, eat healthy. And amazingly enough, our eating healthy becomes the Constitution. So what were some of the weaknesses, the reason why they need to get rid of the Articles? The national government did not have the power to tax, and even though we're not fans of taxes, none of us are oh, tax me more. Although maybe you are, I don't know. It meant that the national government didn't have any money. Without any money, they can't do anything, or pay anyone, or did I mention they can't do anything? There wasn't a single national currency. Every different state, I was about to say colony, but they're states now. Every different state, they had their own form of money, plus there was the national money. They weren't called dollars back then, they were called continentals. How exciting. So there's 14 different types of money. Trade is ridiculous, it's just not working out. There's only one branch of government, as I mentioned previously. There is no president because they're afraid that the president is going to take over too much power. But then they make it almost impossible for the legislature to even pass any laws. So basically, it's a group of dudes sitting around being and yeah, amazingly enough, a government that just does all the time really doesn't accomplish much. So they realize, all right, we need to have a constitutional convention. This is bupkis. This is not working. So one of the big things that they do is they create this thing called the Great Compromise. And so I can't even tell you how much you need to know about this. I know, yes, it's going to be on the 35-week test. It's going to be on the Regents. How do I know it's going to be on the Regents? I haven't seen the Regents. It's on every Regents, okay? In one way or another, it's on every Regents. So if you get this question wrong on this test, that's not cool, because I'm telling you, it's going to be on the Regents. And if you didn't know this, the Regents is coming up. Regents. So anyway, basically you've got small states. And when I talk about small states, we're not talking about small as an area, we're talking small as in population. So Rhode Island, which was small in population, is saying, oh my god, the large states are going to totally overpower us, and it's going to be so horrible, and we're never going to get to have our say. That's how they talked back then. And to make them happy, the small states got the Senate. So everybody got equal representation. So Rhode Island got 2 senators. And so remember, today, a small state, in terms of population, would be like Montana or Alaska, which are big in size of land, but small in size of people. And so they're like, yay, we're equal. The problem is the big states aren't happy about this. They're like, what the heck? Like, dude, like, I'm Texas, or I'm California, or I'm Florida, or I'm New York, and I have a bazillion people. Why do I get the same number of representatives in Congress as these small little states? And so to make them happy, they got the House of Representatives. And so their representation is based on population. So when we look at like New York, for example, yeah, our representation has been decreasing in the House of Reps. Why? Because our population has been decreasing. How do they know that our population is decreasing? How can they tell? Because they do the census. How often do they do the census? Every 10 years. Why they do it? For this express purpose. It's actually written in the Constitution, do a census. And so, yeah, this is a term you need to know, bicameral. So basically, like in your head, or if you were making a flashcard or something, like Great Compromise, bicameral legislature, House, Senate, like those are the 4 words that you need to have, I guess 5, because bicameral legislature, Great Compromise, House, Senate. Oh my God, that's 6 words. You need to have 6 words somewhere on your flashcard for that. So yeah, so we get U.S. Congress, it's made of the House, it's made of the Senate. Alright guys, so I'm going to stop right here. We're going to have part 2 of our review coming up in a jiffy.